Okay, this video is the first in what I hope to be a series of videos showing the restoration of a Royal New Zealand Air Force A-4K flight simulator. To be correct, it's actually a combat tactics trainer. And we'll have a look at how it's actually constructed and look at a little bit of history. So the Royal New Zealand Air Force purchased Skyhawks in 1970. They were supplemented by aircraft from the Royal Australian Navy. And then in the late 80s and early 90s, the aircraft were upgraded. Now that upgrade was called Kahu, and they put in a new radar, new weapons systems, and they had a head-up display in the front. So rather than use the real aircraft to practice all that stuff, it made sense to have simulators that the pilots could sit in and get used to working those systems and knowing where the new knobs and buttons were. So 3 of these simulators were built. Cost at the time was $1 million each. There were 2 in Ohio and also 1 in Nowra in Australia. There are of the 3, only 2 survive. This is the best of the survivors. So this is 01. 03 is currently in Christchurch, but unfortunately not as good a condition. So we'll do a bit of a walk around. We'll show you what the Hotshot simulator looks like on the exterior and also everything that's actually inside it, and then also talk about plans as to what I hope to do with it. So if we go to the front of the simulator, we'll see the panel there, which I've taken the screws out. I've got Hotshot RNZAF A-4K and the Combat Tactics Trainer. Below that is the New Zealand Defence Assets barcode and number. If we open up the panel and have a look inside there are all the control cables that are linked back to the grip, the thrust lever, and most, or about half I think, of the control panels are also linked to the computer. So it'll be a matter of going through those cables, having a look at what works, what I need to keep in restoring the simulator. The simulator was made in 3 parts. It's a central part and 2 bolted on side panels. So the reason for that is you could actually fit it through a standard door frame, which is quite clever. Here's the steel frame for the central part of it, and we can see here one of the bolts which are loose. So it probably was disassembled, only partly put back together before transport to the United States. So after the Helen Clark government scrapped the Air Combat Force in 2001, the aircraft went into storage in a hangar in Blenheim at Woodburn Air Base, and then they went outside. The government were wanting 170 million, I think, for the Skyhawks, and I think that included the Air Mackie trainers and also spares and engines and also the flight simulators. In the end, it was sold to Draken Aviation in the United States. They got 8 of the Skyhawks for a snip, just 7.8 million. It cost us over double that amount of money just to store the aircraft. So not a good return on the investment. And New Zealand no longer has an air combat force. So the simulators were shipped to Florida and never used. And then eventually myself and another guy bought the 2 remaining ones, and we got them shipped back to New Zealand. So we have 1 here in Pukaki and 1 in Christchurch. So along the side we've got 01, the Hotshot RNZAF A-4K CTT logo on the side, and at the back there's the company that built it, which is BVR Technologies. Sitting behind the back panel is a electric motor to move the fiberglass ejection seat up and down. So hopefully we'll be able to restore that. The framing is 1-inch square steel, and the simulator sat on a bottom frame which has casters, and that can be taken off that as it is now, and it has pegs at the bottom. And little legs with screws on them, and they screw down to make it stable. So we'll have a look inside the simulator. So we're just going to climb up here past the fiberglass panels on the side. The only thing I've done to the simulator at this point is to polish the exterior, and then if we look inside, a lot of the control panels have they're held in place by these screws, and they had surface rust. So all of these screws were taken out and cleaned up. So there's the ejection seat. Bit of a stain on it, hopefully not from the last pilots who actually used it. And if we go from top to bottom, left to right, we'll have a look at what's actually in here. Now everything you see, except for the grip and the thrust lever and the emergency bomb release, everything is not real. It's not as in the real aeroplane. So the grip is made by Mason. It was specific to the A-4K Kahoo upgrade, and this stick is complete. The one on 03 isn't. Some of the buttons have been removed. Also over here we have the original thrust lever with the original buttons on it. So the only other one that I'm aware of, other ones are in the actual airframes that are flying or in museums. And the 03 simulator didn't have that, it had been removed. And of course we've got the emergency bomb release at the front. If we look up here, left side, top we have the airspeed indicator or Mach indicator. We've got the altimeter, then we have the vertical speed indicator. Over here we have the pressure ratio gauge, percent RPM. We've got the oil pressure there and exhaust temperature, radar display there. In the center we've got an artificial horizon, course indicator, and then to the left of that is the litres of oxygen in the system, cabin pressure altitude, and then the weapons panel down the bottom. In the middle is the data entry pad, and then this simulator did not have external graphics, but sitting on the dashboard at the front here was a silicon graphics monitor, and that's what the pilots looked at. It was pretty crude. Good for its day, but it just showed the silhouette of a ship or other aircraft, but it did have all the head-up display information projected onto that monitor, and that's the thing that would have made this simulator so costly, is because all of the knobs and switches had to work and look correct on that monitor showing the head-up display. So coming down the right-hand side, we have trim, I think, indicator there. We've got the radar. We've got it's the rear warning, and then we've got the NAS system, we've got nav, UHF, we have audio, the IFF, turn all lights, then the TACAN, and on the other side we've got the undercarriage indicator, flaps, again radar sitting in there, power, thrust lever, flap levers. Then coming back further, we have the air refueling, camera, the automatic flight control system, and oxygen. So again, some of the knobs and switches are real, and half of these are actually wired up and will actually work. So they wired up what was necessary. As I said before, the construction is square box section steel. And then we have metal through here, some metal side panels as in the real aircraft. We have a metal floor. Again, this lower section is all made up, but it is metal. We have a metal instrument panel as well. You'll note that the two displays, multifunction displays, the tubes are not there, but they came with a simulator. So in the interim, I'm going to put those back in to make it look a little bit like how the simulator looked in the early 90s. And then at some later point, I'll actually replace them with more modern displays. So the plan A at this stage is to just check out what's there, what's actually wired up, what works and what doesn't. And then the initial thing will be to get the grip here connected up. It does have potentiometers and will work, so need to get all the buttons correctly wired up as well, and same for the thrust lever. As far as I know, the pedals don't have a potentiometer. They do work and feel like the real thing, but it'll be a matter of getting those working rather than ripping the pedals that are there out and putting in a modern set of pedals. So I'll see if I can actually get those going. So that's the plan. It's going to be a long process, but that is the Kahoo CTT Hotshot simulator. And in the next video, hopefully we'll talk about some of those upgrades that I'm going to make, and yeah, keep you informed. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and come back for the next one.